we start, and first and foremost, I'd like to thank all of you. I know that Jerry said a lot of nice things last night, and I'm sure that you know, Tim did before we got there as well. But really, when I walked in that room last night, you know, I remember the Hail Marys parties. I didn't drink with you last night. And to where you were at today, to walk into that room last night and see so many of you, and I tell you, as impressed as that was last night, to see this many of you here this morning on the quote-unquote morning after, kids, your parents will explain that to you someday. Very, very impressive. So I thank you guys for everything, and truly, you know, we asked you to do it last night, but I'd ask you to do it again to give yourself a round of applause. So seriously, thank you. Hey, I would like to, you know, some of the things I thought last night was great. You heard one of the most articulate, intelligent, well-informed general managers in baseball, Jerry Dipoto. And quite honestly for me, and I get to hear it in the office and the one-on-one conversations, and there were plenty of questions last night, but I could have sat there another 2 hours, you know, taking some car rides with Jerry and listening to him talk and explain things. And I hope you guys understand, and you know, David's spoken with them and others, but everything that we do is really truly meticulously thought through. Whether it works out or not, that's another question. But, you know, that's a hindsight, perhaps even a little bit of second guessing. But I think how many of us in our everyday lives do something where we can say we thought through everything and then life happened. Okay, something just arose. You know, you're talking about the human factor in this, but the preparation that goes into this baseball operations team is truly absolutely phenomenal. You know, I think the question was brought up about Justin Verlander and Clayton Kershaw and signing them to contracts. Jerry talked about composing a team and making it up, so you don't focus on just Josh Hamilton. You really didn't. I mean, while it seems amazing to spend $125 million and get a big contract, how does Josh Hamilton slot into the rest of the club, the makeup, the salary moving forward for the next 5 years, Albert's 9 years beyond that, Weaves when he comes up, C.J. Wilson's. There's all that. There's a luxury threshold. There's having, you know, Randall Grichuk and Caleb Coward and guys coming up from behind or from below. All that stuff goes into it. If you walk up in those offices right now and saw the guys that are working, Jonathan and Nate and Justin, Matt and Hal and the others, there really isn't a player in professional baseball that they don't know something about. Okay? The depth of how much we know about it, that's an ongoing effort, because guess what? It changes as everybody progresses. But their goal is to continue to build this franchise, because everything that looks good out here at a $160 million payroll, the life support and blood of this organization is ultimately down there in the 4 lower fields in the minor league complex. And that's huge for us. You know, Troy Percival's here with the club today as an honorary coach and working out or instructor. Well, you know, we were a world championship ring because of the lifeblood of our organization, and that was the core players that came up from the minor leagues. So that's very, very important to us. You're looking at a general manager that understands the media, he understands the fans, he balances time, he has a wonderful family, he has 3 outstanding kids. But, you know, when he talked about being, at his point in time, the only active ball player who was a member of SABR, he loves the game of baseball. You know, if Jerry wasn't a former player and Jerry wasn't a general manager, he'd probably very much be part of a group like this. That's what he does. And he loves to talk it just as our manager loves to talk baseball. Okay, and I think hopefully that came through last night to you guys. And obviously you like talking baseball, or you wouldn't be here sitting in the sun, and it made the trip out here. And I hope the camaraderie, you know, we always talk about internally, I hope all of you spend this time getting to know somebody in this group that you really didn't know that well before, because that's part of it too. That's part of what the 6 weeks is in spring training. You know, we start with 64, 65 players. They don't all know each other. We don't all know each other inside. We come out of here, hopefully we know each other a little bit better. And for all the communication that you guys have amongst each other, I hope you've spent some time taking a little bit of effort to getting to know somebody that you really didn't know before. I always do that when we do classroom visits to the ballpark. I ask the kids, how many of you said good morning to every one of your classmates today? Very few times do we ever get anybody to raise their hands. Okay? It's difficult to do. We're shy, we're introverted, we don't have time, we're busy, whatever. So take the time before you leave here today to make sure you said hello to everybody that's in this group, because you all share something very special, and that's support of this organization. Okay? So with that speech and sermon, open it up for any questions you might have. And please, anything that you heard last night and during your time here, I didn't hear the writer's session, so I'm here to be the contrary point to those guys. We have some good guys, and obviously by the sheer nature of what Alden has to do, and Jeff Fletcher and others, there's going to be at times just a disagreement or different point of view, but that's really what makes things interesting. I mean, one of the things I admire about Jerry and Mike both is if you have a different viewpoint and you're a member of the media, even those of us who work with them upstairs, they're always open to listen to it, and there is generally an explanation. You know, all we are is agree, disagree points and different counterpoints. But the media at large, and I've said this to you before, for us, that's part of our charge. You know, we kind of live in a society where we accentuate at times the negative, and sometimes I try to remind people that you may not like a story that's written or a comment that's written, but we tend to forget all the good things that are written and said and focus on the negative. And there's plenty of good things that are written about the ball club, the organization, people in general that are very positive. TJ Simers today wrote a great column on Albert. TJ was here and talked to him and absolutely loves Albert Pujols. TJ is tough to please, as most of you or many of you follow the LA Times. But I would also pass along on a personal note. TJ sent me a note yesterday just apologizing and asked me to tell Albert that his column was a little shorter than usual because he had to he wrote it from the emergency room. He thought he'd actually had a stroke and spent the night in the emergency room. So, can you hear me down there all right? Okay. Okay, he's doing okay, and he had to run some tests, so hopefully he's going to be out of the hospital today, but he made sure he got that column on Albert Pujols written. So, and he came out here, I mean, just to do that. So, anyway, some questions.
Jim.
Yes, sir.
Last year, the big surprise was Mike Trout. Who's your pick for a big surprise this year?
The question is, Mike Trout was a big surprise last year. Yes, he was, because if you think about coming out of spring training, he was sick, he was hurt, we didn't know that. I think what Jerry said last year, sometimes we look at big surprises and think young players or somebody that you don't know, but I agree completely with Jerry that Chris Iannetta probably wouldn't so much be the surprise to us, but the emergence to us. And if you look back at the second half last year when Chris was healthy, after he came back, you look at what he carried in the bottom third of that order for us, made a big difference. If he's healthy, and you know, I don't know what they have targeted for actual games started, he would be huge for us, kind of anchoring the bottom third of that order so we flip it around. And obviously Peter Borges, and I throw Peter in that category too, because in 2011, I think he was coming into his own. I mean, or establishing himself. And Peter Borges and Chris Iannetta to do some things in the bottom of the order, perhaps at the top of the order at some point, who knows, would be huge for us. I think it's going to be a very, very difficult lineup to pitch through. I remember the '82 club. This reminds me of that club an awful lot. You had a lot of firepower. We didn't have the speed in '82 that we have with this club, but there's a lot of different things. Down on the farm system, obviously Caleb, you know, we expect good things from him eventually, but there's not a rush. I think most of the help is here right now. As Jerry alluded to, you need another 10 to 15 players to win. And while there's so much focus here in the next 10 days on the opening day roster, who's on the roster, 2 to 3 weeks from now from that opening day roster, it's really a moot point. It's insignificant who made the opening day roster, because you don't like to admit it, you don't hope it, you don't anticipate. Well, we do anticipate because it always happens. Somebody's going to get hurt, somebody's going to get shut down for a couple weeks, whatever. you're going to have the support. And it's what those guys do. You know, you guys all know this and you've heard it. We're going to win 60 games at the start of the year. We're going to lose 60 games. Everybody's in that position. It's the other 40. Except for Houston, maybe. You know what? There are people that said that about maybe Oakland a year ago too. So, but it's those other 40. And a lot of times there's another kind of sentiment that your starters are going to win you 80 games or be there. It's what the bench does and the depth that helps you get through to win the extra games. So, you know, I go back to '82 again as an example, and, you know, Mick Kelleher and Ron Jackson and Rob Wilfong, those guys won an awful lot of games off the bench and were key to us. Absolutely key. So, yes, ma'am.
Are they trying to do something to get out of the gate a little stronger? We always have such a slow start, and we have to play catch-up all year. And it seems like April should be more important.
Well, the question was about, are we doing anything more to get out of the gate quicker in April? Every year. But I would tell you there's two things to that. People say, ask me what our concerns are. Is there an area of bullpen, starting pitching, whatever? To me, my own individual focus is April. You're exactly right. And I don't think it's something you do more. I think by the sheer nature you come out of it, you want to get out of the gate well. I mean, 30 clubs want to do that. But the playoff format changes some things now too. In addition to us not winning the division last year, you're playing every game, and I don't think anybody says this game is less important, but the games in April are certainly much more magnified now because of April. You know, one and done is the second wild card is not something to be excited about, to go home in your Christmas card and say we made the playoffs this year. You know, we want to win a division title. And that's part, bless you. That's part of, I thought you were saying something else there for a second. That's part of what this is all about. So I think there's definitely a renewed effort or focus on that. And for us, because we got out of the gate slow last year, when you have a club built like we are with some of the personnel, the scrutiny intensifies much more from the media, from the fans, internally, when you don't start off well. So yeah, it's very important to us. Yes, sir.
All right. I don't really mean to bring up money so much. Ticket prices are seeming to go up. My real question though is, with the rising prices, the cost of going to the ball game, do you, in your position and in the front office, feel a pressure to, I don't know, maybe bring a more whole experience so that the fans who come in and pay this money want to come back over and over again?
Well, the question was about the rising costs of tickets, basically the cost of being a fan. Do we want to create an experience? Do we feel the pressure or feel the responsibility? I think if you come, how many of you have been to our ballpark, say 10 times a year? Okay. I think you would know that we're rated, well, for 9 straight years, we were #1 in the ESPN poll. I've talked about that before, the national poll of fan experience. We pride ourselves in that and work on it. But I would also tell you that we do that 81 games a year and look for different ways, whether it's our pregame, our in-game, whatever we can do. But if we win 5 straight, food in the Diamond Club is outstanding and the service is great. We lose 5 straight, the food is cold and the service stinks. That's a mental thing that happens, okay? That's our crack staff. This is his last day on the job. Wish him well. But really, that's a big part of it. Customer service is important. Look, we all want to go someplace. I'd like to ask this by show of hands right now, because this is an important question that I've watched change. How many of you go to your Angel fans, but go to the ballpark to see a specific player, or you go there because you want to see the club win? How many want to go see certain players, and that's why you buy tickets? Okay, how many of you want to go see the club win? Okay, that's how it's changed, folks. That's really how it's changed, because when there used to be that sentiment that we'll sign the big player, not just the Angels, but in sports, man, the season tickets go up and all the other things. We didn't get a dramatic spike with Josh. You know, we didn't. There's an expectation there. Okay, the commitment to Josh Hamilton is about winning. commitment to Albert is about winning. Your expectations is about winning. Okay, all we can control in the front office is your fan experience and doing the best we can. Look, if I wasn't here, I'd be buying tickets in a fan. Dynamic pricing. It's a new innovation that baseball was actually behind some other professional sports. But if I want my family to fly out from Southwest and Southern California, if I'd planned ahead 3 weeks ago, I'd have paid $89. If I want to do it Monday, I'm going to pay $169. I mean, that's the way the game has changed a little bit as well. So it is incumbent upon us to do everything we can to create the fan experience and keep changing it. Our club president, John Carpino, with Artie's insistence, we keep trying to kind of not reinvent the wheel, but keep it fresh. And we strive to. And the players themselves have a responsibility. Was there anybody here yesterday during our workout? See what Josh Hamilton did yesterday? An hour and 15 minutes, sitting right over there in a chair signing autographs. Nobody asked him to do it. There were no cameras. There were nobody recording. He did that because that's the way he is. And he'll do it periodically. Okay? That's part of the fan experience too. Okay? One thing you want to see is that the players understand your role and their role with you. Yes, sir.
If you could you describe how over time the relationship between Zosha and Dipoto has changed?
Yeah.
And where it's at now?
Question was about Jerry and Mike relationship. You're talking really, Jerry coming in November of 2011 and taking over. Some changes had to be made. There really wasn't much of at the time, a baseball operations front office. I tell you, you folks focus on, as most people do in the media, the uniform personnel that we have in the organization and the changes since Jerry got here. I look at the philosophy and internally the structure of our scouting, our player development, the resources he's brought in and convinced ownership to bring in as well, so that everything is covered. One of the best things that happened, it's unfortunate when people lose their jobs, and I've seen a lot of that, and people come and go, but you move on and you move forward. Artie was involved with the process of interviewing a couple of general manager candidates. He talked to Jerry, talked to Andrew Friedman with Tampa. And I think one of the things that really was a good result of that is sometimes we stay in our vacuum. We kind of try to fix what we have as opposed to seeing what else is out there a little bit. And Artie and John and Dennis came to the realization to see what some other organizations are doing and the input. And that's why our baseball operations staff now has grown to the size and the coverage it has. That relationship really is as much getting to know each other, but they were hitting the ground running very, very fast. Baseball is truly a 12-and-a-half-month job. It's just, there's no downtime. So to sit there and say we're going to have a date night to get to know each other and, have dinner and all that, there aren't many of those opportunities. There just really aren't. Their communication is outstanding. It really is. We made a change with Mickey. That's tough. That was tough on the personal level. For Mike, it was tough for some of us that have worked with Mickey. Mickey would tell you, as he told Jerry and shook his hand, he knew. He had the feeling. Mickey was my gin partner on the plane, and he had the feeling that if we didn't get out of the gate and do some things, that there would be some issues there. Mickey continues to support this organization. Came out here at dinner a couple weeks ago. Jerry lets Mike run what goes on the field. That's what happens. He doesn't dictate the lineup. They have conversations about personnel. There's a give and take. But you don't want, in this business, how many of you have run businesses? Okay? How many of you are close to the bosses in the business? Okay? Good. I know we all have to mind our P's and Q's at times, but at the end of the day, you don't want a group of yes men around you. You have to have some creative conversation. Okay? You can agree to disagree. We do it a lot, folks. But when you walk out of that room, if 8 out of the 10 of you want to go a certain direction and the other 2 disagree, you're going to come out of the room that 10 of the 10 of you agree. That's just the way it is. Disagreements are healthy. They really are. as long as you contain them. Okay? And I'm glad you two finally made up. It's good to see. But that relationship is solid. It's absolute, and that's not a PR response. That is a solid. There were some folks last year that tried to drive a wedge in a situation that didn't need a wedge, quite honestly. And I'll leave it at that. Yes, ma'am.
Well, this one right here keeps asking me some questions here. So he basically wants to know, in your opinion, what does it take for a little guy like this to start working on being a Major League Baseball player?
Question. Stand up and take a bow.
Stand up.
You're here. There he goes. Okay, he wants to be a Major League ball player someday. Okay? How many of you sitting here wanted to be a Major League ball player one day? Someday. Okay? Most of us did. Most of us did. Most of us did. First of all, have the passion for it. One of the most important, you play a role as important a role as he does. Let him have fun now. Okay? Don't guide him or instruct him with the hopes that he's going to be a Major League ball player. How old are you? 9? Let him be 10, let him be 11. Don't project out to him being an 18-year-old, 19-year-old and drafted. Okay? Huh? You're 8?
He's going to be 8 at the end of the month.
You're turning 8? Okay, well then when you're 9. Okay. Let them enjoy the game, play the game, practice. Get some professional. Look, how many of you coach? Little leaguers or whatever. You're all probably very, very good at it. You got a heart of gold to volunteer in the first place. But try to get some private instruction, okay, when you can. Try to get some honest evaluation. Not because you're the best player on the club, does that mean you're going to be a Major League ball player? Okay, it just doesn't, folks. Okay, get somebody that if he's a pitcher that works with him, shows him, teaches him some mechanics and some fundamentals at an early age. Okay, take care of yourself. Teach nutrition early. You know, one of the things we always wrestle with in the minor leagues, what do we pay them, $18 to $20 a day for meal money? And we try to tell them to take care of themselves with nutrition. It's a little tough. We start that stuff early, folks. We really do. Okay, that's important. Have the fun of it. Watch things, practice properly. Don't just focus on playing the games. Practice. Practice is the most important thing you can do. It is. And why do you think we're here for 6 weeks? 6.5. It's not to play games.
It's just to have fun, right?
Well, not so much fun. There's a little. The fun goes on in the clubhouse. Yes, sir.
Okay. Last year, we had, and previously, we had the National League that we could play X amount of games a year. We knew the blocks a whole bit, and interleague, and it was a big thing when Bud brought it out. This year, interleague really is gone. We have one division. Now I'm a traditionalist, AL and L. Interleague almost interrupted my thought of baseball because we're only supposed to see those guys at the All-Star game and in the World Series.
Right.
Now we're seeing them year-round at the schedule. Opening day, we're in Cincinnati.
Right. Well,
are we diluting the AL and L image?
Now the question is about interleague play. Are we diluting things? Pardon me, with so much with interleague play year round? It is what it is. With 15 clubs now in each league, no, it's changed. The NFL has changed. Our view of the World Series has changed. It's our advancement. Baseball, unlike the other 3 major sports, and hockey is a major sport to me. So we've changed. We've adjusted. And part of it's television, part of it's practicality. We've changed so much that, and I'm on the schedule committee, but we don't have all that much to do with it. We've changed so much that we fly into Texas 6 different trips. Figure that one out. Yeah. You know, we don't go Houston to Texas. We go to Arlington and Houston 6 times.
The schedule.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we all wrestle with interleague play at first, but now I think the way it's gone on year round, I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be exciting. The World Series is different. If I think interleague play was would have been more affected if players stayed with one club for a long period of time. The players changed so much. The switching the leagues, switching the teams. But anymore, I think it just. Yeah, the question was: did Jerry, comprise this club put this club together based on an interleague schedule? We still play X amount of interleague games. We still play X amount of interleague games at home, so not just on the road. This club was built to win any one of 162 games. Kendrys Morales being traded opens the door for flexibility. You look at our roster, we have a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things. Trouty can go back to center. If Vernon had to play left, if Trumbull had to play left or go to right, you open up. If Albert, needed a breather, you've got first base open. So there's flexibility, and that's the big key for us. The bench is going to be a big part of us. Who the bench players end up being. But I think when you really talk about breaking down the lineup, opening series is going to be interesting. Will Peter, Mike, and Josh start and not Mark Trumbull? We'll have the ability to flip it for a game depending on those matchups with those three starters. So I don't think it's going to affect our lineup too much more. The bigger question is the teams that come down to the wire, say in the last 6 games of the year, and you're an American League club, you're a game out or you're a game up, and you're playing in a National League city, and you can't use your DH. That's when you get into some competitive issues to me, and that's what's going to come up. And guess what? It's new territory. It's a new frontier. Let me go to the back real quick. Yes, sir. No, go ahead.
It's not a field question, but there used to be a bust of Mr. Autry over here on the entrance. I was curious what may have happened to that.
It's put into a Cactus League museum, and the Cactus League contacted us and asked so it could be kind of visible year-round. And part of that was it's hard to see Mr. A, kind of move him, if you will, but with those concourses and the freedom, and the crowds, that helped that. From the standpoint of the citizens here in Arizona that can see it year-round, we agreed to do it. So, yes, sir. You look like T.J. Simers when you're squinting. I'll tell you that.
Mark Trumbull had 2 seasons last year, before All-Star game after. How do you see him coming into spring training this year? Mindset after doing this for he's getting out the end.
The question is about the lawnmower. Question about Mark Trumbull and there's 2 of them. About 2 seasons with Mark Trumbull. That's just really experience. Mark 2012 is behind everybody in that clubhouse. 2012 is behind the San Francisco Giants. It's really about how you prepare now. He's going to learn from it. It's what you learn. It's not that you do anything different. Okay, let's put something on the table. So, I've heard that, well, he had the home run derby and he wasn't, the same after that. He had a couple stretches, good stretches, but he was doing a lot of kind of guessing at times. And, he is as intense, the players we have in that club, as intense and as hard-working as anybody in that clubhouse. So part of it's spending more time with Jimmy Eppard, watching the video, figuring things out, simplifying it. A lot of times when things go wrong, you really don't have to find changes. You have to find a return to simple things that made it work. We're just talking about Eddie McKiernan down there with Troy Percival watching video from yesterday. One of the things they talked about, they weren't breaking down mechanics. They weren't looking at arm slot. They were talking about breathing. Slowing down the breathing a little bit, okay? Just be in control of yourself. Not that Eddie wasn't, but you can see patterns as the bases are loaded. It's kind of games getting out of hand a little bit. You make adjustments. It's calming it down. It's slowing it down. And that's a big part of Mark. That last at bat is the last at bat. Yesterday for all of us I can't go back and correct yesterday. Neither can anyone sitting in the seats. We can't make what happened yesterday change. Okay? So you learn, you move forward, and you learn from it. And Mark is a pro. He'll do that.
Could you explain the reason for the departure from your relationship with StubHub and going to the new system? And then my son also wanted to know how did you go about becoming a bat boy?
Sure. Here or back at home?
Either.
Okay. Question was about the departure with StubHub, and then question about being a bat boy. So there's both ends of the universe right there. StubHub was a deal signed by a committee many years ago, and I won't get into the politics of it because baseball got paid decent money, but we believe strongly, us, the Yankees, and a few other clubs, that it really started to kind of take away from the season ticket customer, the program we had, the rolling over of your monies. There was no floor to StubHub, so that you could, in the end, it hurts a ball club. You could sell a $15 or $25 ticket for $9, the day of the game. People would wait. Now that's going to sound like it's a money grab for the club. Conversely, there were a lot of people making an awful lot of money on it, okay? An awful lot of money. And just really felt like you were less in control than we used to be. We were probably one of the first clubs, in fact, I think we really were the first club that voiced a complaint about StubHub internally within Major League Baseball. And eventually, kind of a couple years ago, Yankees really started seeing some things happen as well. Our season, how many of you are season ticket customers? Okay, I guess without flipping, because I don't like to flip, what's your view of how many, and you don't have to give me money or anything, your 81 game commitment, okay, how many would you use StubHub? Okay. Okay. Did you like the old system before we went to StubHub or StubHub? Did anybody here use the old system?
No.
What'd you think?
I like the old system so much better than StubHub. I like the old system better than the Ticketmaster system today.
Okay.
The old system was user-friendly. It just was easier.
Okay. Good. There's a lot of business component to it. We're working on it. We're working on the model, and I hope that's semi-answered. It's a better control of your tickets ultimately. It really is, and now in the system, it's we ran into a lot of issues with StubHub at the ballpark. We ran into some duplicate tickets that StubHub's not there. Now it's an Angel problem, and that got to be old after a while as well. As far as Bat Boy is concerned, in Anaheim, generally that's part of a sponsorship, community relations, or marketing program. We do a lot of things with local charities. We'll give a Bat Boy for a door prize, and then they claim it. So that's it. Now, to be a Bat Boy to work on our staff, like the guys you see, it's 18 or older. So being a Bat Boy is not something you do all game long as you do here. Something called liability issues. And we have them watching us constantly. As far as here, generally that's something that probably in early, mid-February, a lot of Angel staff, a lot of players' kids, sometimes we go into the stands and pull kids if we're short to come down and be one. So there's not really a website that you can go to or sign up for.
2016 is looming. Any surprises?
2016 is looming. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of things to be sorted out. They'll be sorted out. I wish I could pinpoint exactly what they're going to be, but I'm no wiser in that area than you are. A lot of smarter people than me are working on that. The relationship with the city is good. The relationship with the Angels is good. You have to figure something out. But, I don't know about you, but I live in a 48-year-old home. There comes a point in time I got to renovate. I got to do something because it's old. Okay, so we have to do something. Externally, our ballpark is as good as any, and I firmly believe that. internally, we need some work. You know, as we get older, we need some work.
Follow up. Aramark, rumor is that they might be leaving. Is that true? And if it is, can we all apply?
Question is about Aramark and status and contract, and you know we've worked well with Aramark. You always look to improve the current and explore the possibilities. And I don't think, you know, for example, our team photographer's been with us 20 years. I had to do an RFP on photography. We always look, any of our outside vendors, we have to look to get different proposals just to see. It's a very difficult task, but again, to the question earlier about the fan experience, food service and food and quality of food is part of the experience. You know, the merchandising with AEG is part of the experience. So we all have to be on the same page in providing you the same quality in order to accomplish that. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, how does the announcer's contract work? Because I love Victor and Gooby, and I love Terry, and it's like, are they under contract for a long time? And because they really make the game so much better.
Okay. Question is about the broadcasters' contracts. Terry signed a contract this off season. Victor's in the midst of a multi-year contract. Jose is transferred to being a Fox employee solely because, I mean, he's an Angel, but he's a Fox employee technically with a contract, and because he's going to be doing more Spanish games and pre and post on Fox. Gooby is under contract as well. Fox generally, without giving you too much detail, generally signs 1 year and option contracts because they have such a large stable of employees. You got to be real careful about giving you 5 years and you 3 years and you 1 year because we're trying. You know, you just want that continuity because agents have to do what agents do, and that's negotiate. So we have a fine team. Mark Langston's going to join us this year on radio. And as I told a group the other day, Mark Langston is working as hard on radio, preparing as he did on the mound for his starts. It's phenomenal to watch. Phenomenal to watch. Yes, sir, in the back with the glasses.
One, I heard Doug Ward no longer around. Who's handling publications now?
Okay.
Second, I physically seen three different 2000.
Question about Doug Ward Publications. I hired Sluggo a long time ago as my intern. Worked with me 21 years. As good as there is in the business. A gentleman named Jeff Moeller of Los Angeles Kings is helping with the game program as an independent contractor. Doug is responsible for the spring training program this year. We stay in touch. He's doing good. If I can get your name afterwards, I'll tell him you asked about him. I know that would mean something. As far as the World Series trophy, there is one. There's one. It's the one in the case at our ballpark. There was, during '02, after the celebration, after the parade, there was, I'm going to call it the Fox trophy, but it was still a very expensive piece of merchandise because that $60,000 trophy had to be sent back to New York to be fixed because we kind of celebrated a little bit too much. Some of the flags, Tiffany's, some of the flags were wavering, so they had it for almost 2 months. Then we had one and we kind of toured around. It was really the exact replica, just a different with the gold. There's one. Let me tell you guys, I can tell you this with the certainty of my job, okay? There is one trophy at the ballpark. There are two trophies, thank you very much. There are two trophies that were purchased, one by Garrett Anderson, one by Tim Salmon, that are 2/3 the size of the original and were sold at a reduced rate. And the financial situation of both those gentlemen would not call for either of them to put their trophies up. Okay, so it's interesting. Where did you see that at? I would love, and I appreciate that. Ours isn't going anywhere for as long as time exists. I think I can say that with certainty. I think I can also say that with certainty about the other two gentlemen. That's exactly why Tiffany's would not sell a replica trophy. Exactly why. What's that?
Selling businesses.
Yes. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yes, sir.
How disappointed was Artie Moreno in missing the playoffs last year and, in fact, the last 3 years in a row? And what was his reaction to that before the offseason moves that the club made?
The question was how disappointed was Artie not making the offseason last year, for that matter, the other three, or the last three, and you know, how was his mood before we made the decisions we made. If we'd made the playoffs last year, probably still would have pursued Josh Hamilton. Artie wants to win. Is he disappointed? Yes, I would say this with a generality. It's a very quiet office. It's a very quiet office the day the season's over and we didn't play in October. It's also a very quiet office when we play in postseason play and don't play in a World Series. So really the way we're kind of constructed, the way we view things, either way is a disappointment. You know, to stand up here, as I said, if we were the second wild card last year, and we're out, you know, one and done, it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. When you're putting in what we're putting into this organization now, not going deep is not good enough. So yes, it's disappointment, but at the same time, you either sit there and have a pity party, or you move forward. Again, it gets back to, I can't change what just happened. How do I better myself and advance myself? And that's what we do. So we have maybe 24 to 48 hours where we sit there and feel sorry for ourselves privately. Nobody walks and storms the hallways and, you know, threatens or does anything else like that. We reflect. You know, a player goes to his locker at the end of a game after a loss and sits there and goes through the game. Especially a catcher, especially a starting pitcher if he got hammered. Okay, you reflect on what just happened. We reflect on what just happened. Okay, and then we move forward. Okay, it's all of us, you know, who are parents. You sit there, you learn with your kid, you give them a little bit of guidance. Here's how we're going to get better. Here's what we're going to do moving on. That's what we do. Because we just don't, there's not enough time in 12 months to feel sorry for yourself in this business. And I don't mean that dramatic, folks. There truly just is not enough time. You know, we went to interesting story. Went to the BBWA dinner with Mike Trout. Jerry took his wife and John Carpino, myself, and Eric Kay. And we were coming back, we were at the airport in Long Beach, and Jerry was talking about taking his vacation, going to Hawaii with his family. And he's always done that for a couple weeks. And he had a guy over there and said, hey, Jerry, you know, we got some opportunities. And, you know, when you take your family for a vacation, we'd like to set you up doing this or whatever. And he goes, when can you go? And he goes, well, I have a 2-week window, which is really now a 1-week window because of rules and regulations. The guy goes, no, not just in December or January, anytime. Jerry said, no, you don't understand. I have 1 week that I can do something and take a focus off baseball a little bit. Though he's on his BlackBerry or iPhone, you know, otherwise. I'm going to get an iPhone here probably tomorrow. But really, that's how busy you are. That's how busy you are. And this, how many of you, this is interesting, because I always like to get educated. This has changed your lives with your employers, that you've had a job where you used to shut it down when you went home, that now you no longer shut it down. Okay, we're not unique, guys. That's kind of the culture today. But you start adding writers, other clubs, players, you know, colleagues within the organization, agents and all that. There's any one of several hundred to 1,000 people that can contact us at any time. The only difference now is, you know, I used to have a rule, kind of don't call me after 9 o'clock unless, you know, we had something pressing. They don't, they just text you. So, and I have no problem with that. I don't sleep anyway. Yes, ma'am.
That playoff game, one game, is that going to continue?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
That's not like this, it didn't matter, but Atlanta was 6 games ahead, and then they lose.
Well, in Texas was in the lead. Texas was out of the lead last year for 1 game, 1 day. Major League Baseball, television factored in, the on-field committee, I will tell you, it's tough because now we understand what the NFL feels in their postseason. Certainly not the NBA or the NHL. Although you can bet that those leagues are watching now and saying there's something about, what's March Madness? How many of you really follow 64, whatever amount of clubs? But you love the excitement of that game tonight is going to put your club or the opponent that you don't like out of it. There's something special. The difficult part for us is we play 35, 38 games, go play 162, and you got one. Well, and in this sport, probably almost like, unlike the other three, anybody can beat anybody on a given day. So it's just what makes it, I'm still carrying 86 and 82, and man, I have a World Series ring. That's the beauty of sport as well. And I would tell you that truly, the cream does rise in a one-game playoff. It is hard for the fans. It's very difficult. In 82 and 86 was the best of 5. Okay? If that's a best of 7, we may have another World Series ring or appearance. But it changed, and it made it even harder to accept as the rules changed. So again, getting back to the question about interleague and stuff, it's the evolution. And as the older we get, you young kids don't understand this, the older we get, the more change we see, the more we understand our parents. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, the interplay between Savardi's money and Jerry's kind of decisions. I know we have the two-year contract with Hamilton and Pujols, and Hardy was involved. How much of that was something that Jerry brought to Hardy, or how much of that was Hardy bringing it to Jerry, the kind of the interplay there between those two?
That's a great question. The interplay between Jerry and Artie, when it comes down to money and big contracts, it's constant conversation between the two of who's available, what do you got out there, give me a status report, what's going on, and then it enters the conversation. It's not like Artie picks up the phone and says, go get. What's the possibility? And again, Jerry's on top of it. I would tell you just about anything Artie can ask Jerry DePoto, Jerry knows. There's an answer. And it's not the top of your head answer, it's an informed answer. So there's a dialogue, But at the end of the day, this young lady may want to go buy a car that mom and dad is going to help support, or finance. She loves the car. Parents want her to have the car. Parents have the money. You still got to go ask mom and dad, okay? Somebody's going to make that ultimate decision because it's not Jerry's money. It's not my money either. So, yes, sir.
So you talked about the importance of injuries at the start of the season, and Jared's getting some, I guess, non-traditional type of treatments. How much are the Angels looking at non-traditional, things to help speed recovery from injuries?
Well, you're talking about kind of the...
Yeah, with the shoulder stuff that he's doing.
That's a great question about non-traditional medical efforts. Non-traditional will very quickly become traditional.
Right.
And it's advancement. Again, not to be a broken record, but it's the advancement. Instead of ice, now you have the, whatever you call it, but stimulates and shakes up muscle stimulator, keeps the blood flowing. Okay, it used to be ice. Okay, so now instead of a guy going sitting in the training room for 20, 30 minutes after game with ice all over him, he can use that stimulator, come into his locker and do an interview if he wants to. So really what it is, more than non-traditional or Eastern medicine or anything else like that, it's advancement. Just like if you go down to our training room, our weight room, there's new machines down there that we didn't have 2 years ago. If you talk to TJ Harrington, our strength and conditioning coach, there's new exercises now that we didn't used to use before because we've advanced. Some people have tried it, people have had success with it. We're going to try something a little bit different. So that's really what it is.
So they are supporting and looking.
Oh, absolutely. Your medical team is constantly looking for changes, looking to other sports. The difference, guys, if you go back and look at the 60s, the 61 Angels, 62 Angels in spring training, they did jumping jacks and push-ups. Seriously. That was the workout regimen. Okay, in '82, when we had all those Hall of Famers and 4 MVPs, and we had the training room, weight room outside the back of the clubhouse in Palm Springs, we had a bike and we had free weights. That was our weight training program. The players didn't really do a lot of weightlifting. So it's funny, when you look at the old videos, there they are, 1, 2. So, please don't get that on film, baby.
Too late.
Last year when they were going through pools, everyone knew, okay, well, once we got into that last week, everyone knew the Angels were in on pools and that they were working at it. We were the secret team, but then it became public and it came down to us and the Cardinals. Now, I went to bed that one night going, man, we might get pools tomorrow. I got a text one day that said, we got Josh Hamilton. I had no idea that was coming. Kind of going to the way, maybe the differences of how it was dealt with Albert and then with Josh, and maybe how much was let known to the media.
Well, the question was about kind of the surprise or secrecy of Albert and Josh signing. Both really were the same. In essence, we wanted to keep it a secret. And we really got down to that day with Josh. It was the leak to the media. We kind of operate a little bit differently than some. We really try to operate a little bit more stealth now than we used to. Jerry and I were walking to an affiliates dinner in Nashville, and he pulled me aside. He said, hey, just as a heads up, Artie and I had lunch today with Josh and his wife Katie. I'm not sure where it's going to go. Just want to let you know. That was it. He didn't tell everybody in the room upstairs. Told a handful of people. We didn't talk about it openly. You know, when Jerry wants me to know something, our staff, he'll tell us. Our preference, because you know what? How many of you would like to know your Christmas present on December 22nd? But you can't. You would, but you can't get it till the 25th. There's nothing worse than having something ruined. Okay, just there really isn't, guys. And look, I'm talking advancement. There's very few secrets today. I mean, my gosh, people got into grand jury documents in the Barry Bonds case. You can hack anybody. It appears anymore. So we like to try to keep it a secret and a surprise. And it'd be nothing more than the Angels today announced the signing of Josh Hamilton. And that was our goal. That was our objective. Same thing with Albert. Because ultimately, it's nice to spring it on the media. For us, it's nicer to spring it on you guys. It really is. You know, I mean, how many times do you think it's like Mariano Rivera retiring? Okay, it was just a question of being announced on Monday, waiting until Saturday's press conference for him to state the obvious. Okay? That's unfortunately something that's kind of been taken away from all of us as fans with technology and nobody knowing who the source is anymore. Some people kind of like the rush to be first. There's no reward for breaking the news story first, especially when it really is not going to change anything drastically. So from our standpoint, we try to keep that quiet. But when you start filling out documents that have to be sent to people, to MLB, the Players Association, you have to involve doctors, a medical team, maybe a couple folks on the peripheral. Eventually, somebody's going to do something, and it's just going to get out. But Josh, that got out about as late as it could. Albert, the night before.
Yeah.
So, in today's environment, that was successful. Really, it really was successful. So, maybe a couple more, and they're going to start their meet at 10, and then they'll be out here thereafter. Yes, sir. I'll come back. I'll come out to the same time.
Your favorite Angel player all time?
You know what? I honestly probably about every 3 days get asked that. And we had a conversation over a couple of beers recently, and I've really gotten to the point now that is, to me, almost impossible to answer. Because I used to say Jim Abbott, I used to say Chuck Finley, Don Baylor. Think of your own lives. When you're in high school, when you're in elementary school, there's a favorite elementary school teacher. When you're in high school, I'll skip middle school because it was bad for me. In high school, there's a favorite. There's a favorite teacher, there's a favorite, somebody along the line. So this is my 34th season. There's people along the line that made a difference and impacted me. And it would be Baylor. It's easy for me to say the Don Baylors, Chuck Finleys, the Jimmy Abbotts, Rod Carews, Bobby Grich to this day. Some of the other players that fly under the radar because we say favorite player and we think popular. Ron Jackson was one of my favorite people. What I value now, guys, ultimately is I value the friendships post-career more than I did the relationships when they were, because we were both the means to an end. I need you to do this, media, you come do this appearance, we'll work together. Tim, can you get me this? But as it carries on and you have a substantive, God, I'm a communication girl, substantial relationship and friendship, that's what means more. Troy Percival, honestly, if I lost everything, absolutely lost everything, Troy Percival would have a room in his house for me to come sleep. Now, he charged me rent. But and Troy Percival is one of those people that is there. He knows when to send you a text or call you at the right time, and vice versa. I mean, he's one of us. I mean, he really is one of us. And it's a thrill for me to see those guys come back in uniform. Yes, sir. I love this, by the way. I really do. Wish I could do it, but you know, our company policy.
Scheduling, as far as our time on the road compared to other teams, or the big teams coming into town less than we seem to go to there. Do you have any opinion on that, or ideas for effective change?
No, outside of our division, we will, wherever we go, we're within the American League. We will no longer go to New York twice or Boston twice. They'll no longer come out to Anaheim twice. Okay, within the American League, we'll play the American League West 3 times at home, 3 times on the road. We're going to Chicago to play the Cubs twice. They're coming here. Cardinals are coming here, but that's all the interleague. But now with the new change, you're all gonna have to get used to the radical difference of the 15-15 schedule, team schedule. So, you know, there for a while, we would go to New York twice, and the Yankees would come here once. Well, that's hard for us at the gate, obviously, and we would have somebody else. But it's really evened out now at a balanced schedule. Yes, sir.
Every time that we do this every year, and we talk about how long you've been with the organization, 34 years is just, it just strikes me as amazing. Have you ever thought of, or would you ever think of, or consider writing a book, writing a memoir of your history with the team and where you started from, the stories that you have over your career, that we sit here every year and just hang on every word that we could. Well, I see that being a book I just wouldn't put down.
I appreciate it. It's just a question about being here 34 years and writing a book, and I'm not a good storyteller. If Chuck Finley were here, or Troy Percival, I would be dwarfed, because they are hilarious, they have great memories, and they tell great stories. I really like to sit in the background. I mean, it's just like the words. I appreciated everything last night, I really did. If I was going to do that, I'd probably have somebody like Chuck Richter write it, because I think you have to have somebody that could draw it out of you a little bit. And sometimes, one of the nice things about gatherings with folks like you really is, you'll ask me a question, and I'm going to have to go back in the backs of my memory a little bit and pull out a thought that I haven't thought about in a long, long time. And that's exciting. I see players, I mean, Jimmy Abbott's book, there were some things in that book that I'd really shelved and forgotten about. Yeah, I would like to. I tell you why I would like to most. I'd like to do something so that my son has it. I really regret not keeping a journal. You know, I think that Jerry brought this up last night. And I tell you, and it left an impression. I mean, I've heard him say it before, but you kind of, your roadmap, your reflections back, we all kind of owe it to ourselves a little bit. It's one of the gifts that you can really give to your kids. It's not, you know, the money, the material, the cars, whatever at the end, but who was my mom, who was my dad, what can I learn from them? You know, Tim Brown, who wrote Jim Abbott's book, I told him one time, Jimmy's feeling on that book is really, it's a gift to his 2 girls, and, you know, a little bit to people who face adversity. I told Tim Brown he should take all his columns, put them in a big book. I did this from Cal Poly for all the articles I wrote, school paper. I'm going to give it to my son. But he should do the same thing, because that's what your dad did, or that's what your mom did. That's one of the reasons I would do it.
I really hope you can.
I need to find the time to do it. I really, and it's a great idea. It really is.
You have 1 week off?
I stay here when everybody goes home. And by the way, let me publicly, and I still have, there's some loose ends to fill in. on this with Under the Halo, and Chuck and I will talk offline about this. Thank you all for contributed to Under the Halo. I greatly appreciate that, because it was phenomenal. And it was a great book, and I just thank the dear Lord that through a lot of things that I won't get into why it was late, for the 50th year, signing Albert certainly helped it, the next year. But the former players loved it. I wish some technical difficulties didn't occur, but it's a hell of a book. It really is. It really is. I hope you guys continue doing what you're doing online with the moments. I will sit here and tell you this. You start to get 54, some things you forget a little bit. AngelsWin.com shakes the cobwebs out of the memory a little bit and reminds me of some things. And for all of you who contribute to it, I thank you, because it's a reference point for me, if I'm a little uncertain. So all of you contribute, thank you again. Maybe one more, and then we'll let you.
Two fan experience questions. One for Arizona. What's your favorite Greek restaurant in Arizona?
Favorite Greek restaurant?
That's right.
Okay. I wish I ate Greek food, being full-blooded Greek. I'm a barbecue guy. This doesn't look like good quality Greek food.
What happened to the name the gnome contest? What name won? If it should all.
You know what? That one I owe you a response to for marketing. I don't know the answer to it. Okay, I'll have to find an answer. Sure, real quick, I wrote letters to every major league club and every football club my sophomore year in high school, 1973. And I still have the responses. And I got letters back, folks, from about 16 clubs. Still have them in a scrapbook. And I said this to you before, that to this day is why I respond to people. Emails make it more difficult to be timely, but somebody who took time to respond to a punk kid that they didn't know in San Bernardino, California, I remembered how important it is to give people that time. I went to school, almost flunked out of college my freshman year. I graduated with honors. High school, college, I struggled. Went to San Bernardino Valley, got my AA, got my GPA up. Went to Cal Poly, wanted to be a sports writer, and sports editor of the school paper, sports writer, covered one of the greatest men I've ever covered in my life, and John Scalinas at Cal Poly, and was fortunate. I wrote 3 letters to the Angels for an internship. I have those 3 rejection letters. They were the same letter. I understood what template meant after I got my 3rd letter. An intern quit in June of 1980. I was actually in Salinas, California with Daryl Miller, who was my roommate in college. And my fiance at the time called and said, the Angels called. They'd like to talk to you about an internship. And I went up there, and the only reason, I try to tell this to college kids, what's the secret of success? I don't know it any more than anybody else does. But they had my 3 rejection letters, or my 3 letters, in their file, and I got an interview because I'd been the most persistent. Got the opportunity in '80. I still wanted to be a writer. It was one of the worst years in club history, as you recall. I saw a lot of conflict in the clubhouse. I changed my mind then about being a writer. I could not write about the shortcomings of other people or failings when I could not do it. It just is not my makeup. Did the internship, tried to come back in '81. Tom Seberg went to his office dressed in my polyester suit, and polyester used to be big at that time. And it's Tom, I'd love to come back. And he said, you had your time. It's time to go out in the real world and get a job. And so I spent the next 2 weeks at Santa Anita Racetrack with some of my friends. And a young man in stadium operations quit in January of 1991. They called me. I went and interviewed. I started $8,800 a year with my college degree and thought, I'm getting paid for this. 2 days later, the Secretary in Public Relations, Gail Peterson, resigned. Buzzy Bavasi asked me, would you like to come be the secretary in PR? I said, because you have a journalism communications degree. I said, yes, sir. I did that. I did the letters. I didn't wear the skirts or get the coffee or anything, but I did everything. And I'm proud to this day to say this. When I talk to young ladies or young men about getting in, I say, if there's an administrative assistant position, get in the door, because I'm a result of that. I really am. I did the calls, and I did talk to the people, and I did everything, because an administrative assistant is the second most important person in the department. If you want to get to the boss, you treat that person well. And I found that out firsthand, I really did. And then the rest of everything else was just kind of a sequence of events where I worked hard, I kept my mouth shut, I didn't play politics, I stayed out of gossip. I always tell people, you get paid for what you're supposed to do, you get promoted when you do beyond. And I spent a lot of time doing beyond. And I had great mentors in Red Patterson, Buzzy Bavasi, and George Goodale, you know, Frank Leary, people who love the Angels, people who love the game, people who told me, Red Patterson said, are you ready to make a commitment for life? And guys, I don't mean this syrupy, yeah, I was. That's why I've had a couple other opportunities. I could never dream of leaving the Angels. And when you said last night what you said, it really meant a great deal, because I hope I never have to walk away unless I can't service this club. But the one thing I guarantee you, I will never burn out of working for the Angels or loving the Angels, whatever happens. Because when the day comes I'm not here, I'm going to be thankful to the Angels, and I'm going to be thankful to baseball, because 34 years is a long time. It's a long time with a marriage, much less working professionally. And it really is. That means everything. Bill Bavasi gave me the opportunity to be an assistant general manager. And Tony Regans and I talk about it all the time. That's the beauty of this organization. This is the only club that would have allowed Tony to become a general manager when he did, and myself to be an assistant GM when I did. And both of us will forever be grateful for it. So, you know, Chuck Finley was the ultimate, and Don Baylor were the ultimate company players. They didn't agree with everything that happened. They didn't. They towed the company line. Questions they had, they asked behind the scenes. But everything was about this club. That taught me a lot of things as well. Okay? You know, some of you have heard me say this before. You don't love something, or you love something, I mean, that's the basis for your relationship, hopefully your job, your career, not your job, whatever. But there's days you don't like it. Okay, there's just days. You hope to minimize those days into hours and even moments when you can. Okay, I don't like losing. I don't like to see people criticized. I don't like negativity toward the club. But sometimes the quicker you embrace it and deal with it and move on, the better off you are. It's just better off you are. Rick Smith, our assistant trainer, you don't have to remember the truth. You never have to remember the truth. And in my position, the quicker we tell the truth and move forward with whatever the situation is, the better we are off for you and our credibility and our reputation. And that applies in your everyday life too. You know, if one of these young men, and certainly neither one of them have ever been in trouble, but if they do something wrong, the quicker they tell mom and dad the truth, the quicker it's over. The quicker it's over. And that's what I've had to learn to deal with a little bit with the scrutiny of a major league team now. We're scrutinized more than ever. There's more focus on everything we do. Okay? So get it out, answer to it, and that's it. It's a long-winded question. I appreciate it, but I hope many of you, if not all of you, in here, and I know many, times we've had to work for Chucks, but I've been blessed. I hope you love your careers, at least the majority of the time, the way I love the Angels. Because if you do, you're very, very fortunate. So, okay? I hope you have fun today. This is going to be a great environment. I know there's some green suds waiting somewhere. I'm not sure if anybody brought any, but have a great St. Patty's Day. Did everybody wear their green? No. Star Wars? Did we wear our green? Well, you know what? green is the second best color to red, and that you all have on. So thank you guys very much. We'll see you next year. We'll see you at the ballpark.